What the hell is up, everybody? Louis back here again, looking to break down UFC 277. Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena, number 2, the rematch. The greatest women's fighter in history taking on Juliana Pena. So let's see if Juliana can get it done again. I mean, this is just a banger of a card. You got Brandon Moreno taking on Kai Kara-France for the 125-pound flyweight interim strap. And then you got Derek Lewis on the card. I mean, what else do I got to say? Quick recap of last weekend. Didn't go so great for me. A lot of big lines. I got a lot of them right on the prelims, but they were just too big. I bet against Paddy Pimblett in London. Big mistake. And then I really thought Chris Curtis would get it done, but Jack Hermanson is a solid striker now. So it is what it is. Let's get on to it. Let's make some money this weekend. First fight of the night, 170 pounds. Men's welterweight, you got Ryan COSCE taking on Blood Diamond. COSCE took on Philip Rowe his last fight. In the first round, he's able to land a body kick, but then he gets doubled to the fence, but he's able to get back. He's able to land the back trip in the grappling exchange, and then he's able to get up, and then he lets Rowe get up. And then he lands an uppercut, and then he gets his back to the clinch, and he's able to get around the back, and then he eats some straight shots toward the end there. So a little bit of exchange, but he's able to get the better. Then in the second round, he gets clinched off a jump knee that he throws, but he's able to reverse the position and get the clinch against the fence. But then he eats some hooks on the feet. But then he shells up, and he just kind of takes some damage, not a ton. But then he gets rocked up a 1-2 whenever he's throwing a hook, and then he eats a flurry. But he's able to land some hooks of his own, and then he gets clinched and he eats some uppercuts to the body. But he's able to land with some counter hooks and then a double against the fence. But then he eats some plum knees and a flurry, and then he gets KO'd with the straight right. So decent in the grappling exchanges, but just kind of takes too much damage and kind of throws with people he shouldn't be throwing with, in my opinion. And then Blood Diamond took on Jeremiah Wells. This was his UFC debut. First round, he gets clinched immediately. He keeps the overhook. The Wizard tries to defend, but he gets lifted to the mat, gets his back taken, and then he fights the choke for a decent amount of time, but then he eats some ground and pound. Whenever he tries to get up, he gets submitted, gets caught in the rear naked choke. But he's I guess a decorated kickboxer, not a great grappler. Blood Diamond plus 160, Ryan COSCE minus 190. I'm going to go with Blood Diamond here because Ryan COSCE just gets hit in the face a lot. I know Blood Diamond's grappling isn't great, but you've got to be thinking that he's been working on defense at least. And, Ryan COSCE just takes shots. Blood Diamond obviously is going to be better on the feet. My pick here is Blood Diamond. Let's go with the plus money. Second fight of the night, 205 pounds, men's light heavyweight. Got Nikolai NEGUMEREANU taking on Ihor Potieria, UFC newcomer. NEGUMEREANU took on Kenan Zechikwu his last fight. In the first round, he's at range. He counters with a step and overhand, but then he eats some jabs. Then he's able to slip the shots, and he lands a straight right in the pocket. Then in the second round, he starts pressuring. He eats a jab, but then he gets the double to the fence. He gets clinched, but then he lands some knees, though. And then he stands at range, and he trades, and then he's able to land over top of Zechikwu's jabs, but then he eats some jabs with some straights, just kind of trading in the pocket. And then in the third round, he walked into a jump knee, but then he starts swinging wild, starts chasing him a bit more. But he gets a double off the knee, but he's not able to hold him down. And then he starts pressing and lands some straight rights, but then he misses a hook and then eats a 1-2 toward the end there. And then they gave him a gritty split decision. Zechikwu lost the point for eye poke. A lot of people thought that Zechikwu got robbed, but, NEGUMEREANU is going to be in there, and he's going to fight for your dollar at least. Then Ihor Potieria, he took on Lucas Soldowski in the Contender Series. First round, he bounces outside. He lands a straight right whenever he gets pressed, and then he presses forward, and he rocks him with the hook. Then left and right hooks, and then he gets the clinch on the fence, and then they kind of go back and forth with the clinch. But then he blitzes left and right hooks again, and then he lands the overhand and gets the KO. So, Ihor Potieria plus 100, Nikolai minus 120. Another one, I'm just going to go with the guy with more experience. Nikolai, the line's pretty close here, and Nikolai can take a lot of shots. Potieria hits hard, but NEGUMEREANU eats shots, keeps coming forward. There's not too much value either side. My pick here is Nikolai NEGUMEREANU. Third fight of the card, 135 pounds, women's bantamweight. You got Jocelyn Edwards taking on Jeon Kim. Jocelyn Edwards, she fought Ramona Pasquale. This was at 145, her last fight. In the first round, she presses with a straight flurry, but then she gets clinched, but she's able to land some short hooks in there, and then she's able to land the front kicks. She gets the clinch. She tries to get the trip takedown, but she eats some body kicks and a flurry off the break. and then she eats a head kick while she's backing up at range. Then in the second round, she lands a hook to the body on the clinch break. She presses forward with the front kicks. Her kick is caught, and she gets taken down toward the end of the round. Then in the third round, she's able to stuff the shot on the fence, and then she lands some hooks. And then she stuffs a single, and then she lands a flurry, another flurry to the body, and then the head. And then she starts swinging some hooks and uppercut at range. And relatively competitive fight, but, you know. And then Jeon Kim, she took on Priscilla Cachoeira her last fight. In the first round, she skirts outside. She throws some looping hooks. Then she eats an overhand in the pocket, but then she lands that counter hook, and then she backs out of the hooks, and then she starts throwing some hooks, able to get out of the range. And then she gets taken down with the blast double at the end. And then in the second round, she lands some jabs in a 1-2, but she eats a straight right, standing at range. And then she lands some counter hooks, and then she's able to circle out of any more attacks coming forward, and then she's able to cut off the cage, and she eats some hooks. She eats some hooks on the inside, but then she keeps circling, doesn't stick around to get hit too many times. Then in the third round, she lands a 1-2 and then a left hook whenever she gets pressed, but she eats some straight rights and then a flurry, and then she's able to hurt her with the straight left, who's kind of going back and forth. And then she lands a counter right hook. She lands some jabs and some 1-2s at range, but then she eats some elbows against the cage there. Priscilla just kind of unloads on with those elbows, and arguably stole a fight with that. So, but Jeon Kim plus 100, Jocelyn Edwards is minus 120. Again, I don't like Jocelyn Edwards' weight. I don't like the weight change, and I think Jeon Kim, whenever Jocelyn presses forward, I think Jeon Kim's better in the pocket as long as she can get past those leg kicks from Jocelyn. And I think if Edwards presses her, I think Jeon can land a flurry, and I think she'll be able to circle and just kind of outpoint her here. My pick here is Jeon Kim. On the main event of the early prelims, 170 pounds men's weight, you got Michael Morales taking on Adam Fugitt. Michael Morales, second fight in the UFC, I believe. Morales took on Trevin Giles his last fight. In the first round, he landed some step-in leg kicks, but then he gets rocked with a straight right, and then he gets taken down with a body lock drag, but he's able to sweep, completely reverse from the arm triangle position, and then he able to get back to his feet, and then he backs up, lands a check right hook, and he's able to rock him with that, and then he drops him with the right cross, and then gets a TKO ground and pound. So, decent skills on the ground, and dude's got power, and Trevin Giles is no punk. Then Adam Fugitt, he's making his UFC debut. Last fight in the LFA, he took on Solomon Renfro. Not much here. First round, lands some head kicks immediately, and then some leg kicks. Just keeps moving in and out, and he lands a step-in right cross, gets the KO. Before that, he took on Reno Ramingo. In the first round, he eats some jabs at range, but then he lands a front kick, and he's able to get the double off the fence, and then he can't really, not able to keep him on the ground, but he's able to stick to the clinch against the fence. And then he just feints a lead hook, and then he gets able to get the clinch. Then he lands a body kick, but then he gets dropped with the uppercut, but he's able to get the body lock, but he can't, not able to keep him down. And then he eats the uppercut when he gets pressed with some hooks at the end there. And then in the second round, he presses with some jabs, some body and leg kicks. And then he's able to get the clinch again, basically just setting everything up, just trying to get to the clinch or the takedown. Then he lands a straight shot, a flurry of straight shots, then he lands an uppercut, and then he starts working the body a little bit. Then he lands some front kicks, and then pulls on the head, gets some plum knees to the body. Then he eats a check left hook, though, while he's rushing in. But then he's able to get a blast double at the end of the round. Then in the third round, he lands some body kicks to the blast double. And then he gets a clinch with the outside trip, and he's able to take the back, get the rear naked choke submission. So decent performance from him. But outside of the UFC, if that means anything. Adam Fugitt plus 450. Michael Morales minus 600. I've been going back and forth, and this line is kind of ridiculous, but there can only be so many underdogs to win on a card. And I believe he's taking it on a little bit of short notice here. And I just think Mike Morales is better. I don't think Adam Fugitt's not going to be able to take him down. I think Morales will be able to reverse if he has to. And I think Morales hits harder. The line's a little bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. I'm going to go with Michael Morales, but if you want to go Michael Morales by finish, minus 190, that's better. The whole fight to go under 1.5, minus 115, I like that, but Michael Morales. Okay, first fight on the regular prelims at 155 pounds, men's lightweight. You got KLOSE taking on Rafa Garcia. KLOSE fought Brandon Jenkins his last fight after a little bit of a layoff. At the first round, he's at range, lands some body kicks, and he keeps the pressure. Then he gets a body lock lift takedown. But then he eats some elbows in the clinch, but he's able to land some knees and then hooks. And then he lands a straight right, and he rocks him, and then follows up with another flurry. Then he's able to land a step-in right hook, and then he drops him toward the end of the round. Then in the second round, he's able to grab the clinch, and then lands some knees to the body. And then he lands a step-in uppercut. and then uppercuts in the clinch, and then a hook flurry, and then just gets the KO. So just kind of gets on the inside and has his way, uses that clinch, and then sets up the strikes. And then Rafa Garcia took on Jesse Ronson in his last fight. In the first round, he lands an overhand right over Jesse's jabs, lands an overhand and a straight from range, and then he circles at range. He's able to duck the straight shot, gets the double to the back, presses to the cage though, and then he feints the overhand. He's able to get the double, but he's not able to hold him down very long. Then he lands a lead uppercut whenever he gets pressed on the inside. Then in the second round, he lands a 1-2, gets a single bow step finish, just sets him down on the mat. And then he gets a double off of the leg kick, and then he's able to get in a half guard, lands some ground and pound, takes his back, gets both hooks in, rear naked choke submission, nice and easy for him. Rafa Garcia plus 180, Drakkar Klose minus 210. Don't really love the price, but I just think Drakkar is going to be able to get there on the inside. I think he's going to be able to utilize the clinch. I think he's going to be able to rip the body if he wants to, and he's just going to win the battle on the inside. I think he's going to hit harder. I can see a finish happening, but you know, Drakkar Klose historically not known for finishes, so might just go 3 rounds. It's not a terrible line, so straight up's okay. My pick here is Drakkar Klose. All right, next up on the prelims, 265 pounds, men's heavyweight, the people's main event, I guess. Dontel Mays taking on Hamdi ABDELWAHAB. Hamdi making his UFC debut. Mays took on Josh Perez in his last fight. In the first round, he gets the clinch to the sweep side control, and then he lands elbows, and he's able to keep the clinch, and then he's able to get another trip takedown. Then he gets in the clinch, and then gets another back trip, and then he's able to get that to the crucifix. And one thing I liked about Dontel, whenever he got the clinch, he kept it, or whenever Josh got up, he kept right on him against the fence there. And then in the second round, he lands a jumping knee to a 1-2. Then he gets a single to the double off the fence. He's able to stuff the back trip, and he's able to get into half guard. Whenever Josh tries to get a trip, and then Dontel just throws his hips in and doesn't have any of it. And then in the third round, he lands a 1-2 from range, and then a front kick. Then he gets a single trip off of the fence, and then he gets the clinch to the back trip, another crucifix position, gets a TKO. So I like that he's going on that crucifix there, and you know, just not letting a big guy like Josh Perez get up. And then Hamdi took on Dustin Clements his last fight. In the first round, he stands at range, lands some overhand right, throws some overhand rights. They're too short, but he closes the distance. He's able to get inside, get the inside trip, and then he's able to control the elbows. So it gets the inside trip, gets the control, and then he lands some elbows there. Then in the second round, he just kind of runs into a jab. But then he lands a left hook off of his jab, and then follows up with a flurry. But then he eats some counters in the return. But then he gets a blast double off the fence, gets to the crucifix position again, kind of like Dontel Mays, but here he doesn't really do much damage at all. Then in the third round, he stuffs a double, and he's able to get on top, just kind of pancake him. And after that, he just, between rounds or something, his opponent, Dustin Clements, gets injured, so they just kind of stop the fight. So both guys getting that crucifix position, but Dontel Mays is the only one really doing damage here. That's how I see it. And then also Hamdi just looked like he had some cardio issues. Hamdi plus 160, Dontel Mays minus 190. I'm going to go with Dontel Mays here. I think straight up is okay. You might want to go for the finish, but heavyweights you never really know. So, but I like Dontel Mays. I can see him getting to the crucifix, honestly. Hamdi might give him some trouble early, but I just don't see Hamdi's cardio carrying over all 3 rounds. And if you want to go the whole fight over 1.5 minus 165, I kind of like that. But my pick here is Dontel Mays. The co-main event of the prelims, 155 pounds, men's lightweight. You got Drew Dober taking on Rafael Alves. Should be a banger here. Drew Dober obviously got that crimson chin. He took on Terrence McKinney his last fight. In the first round, he eats a jump knee. He gets dropped with some hooks. Then he gets dropped with the knee but he's able to grab onto the leg, and then he's able to get the clinch, and he misses the trip, and Terrence throws the hips in and gets on top. But he's able to work his way back to his feet, but then he misses some straights and gets taken down with the double, but he's able to push both feet and push off his hips, and he's able to get up again, and then he gets the clinch, lands a knee to the head, and then he gets on top, full guard, TKO, ground and pound, finish. But we all know Terrence McKinney is do or die, and Drew Dober has that crimson chin. So, but then Rafael Alves took on Mark Diakiese's last fight. In the first round, he presses with some hooks, and then he rocks him with the straight left, lands a jump knee, and then he pulls guillotine, gets a submission. Not much to it. And before that, he took on Damir Ismagulov. In the first round, he drops him with the blitz, and then he pulls guillotine, doesn't get it this time, eats some nasty ground and pound. Then in the second round, he misses the blitz and eats some jabs at range, and he eats a jab off of his hook, but then he gets dropped with the left hook while he's coming in forward. and then he eats an uppercut while he's standing in the pocket. Then he lands a left hook, but he shoots, but then he gets tripped, and then he eats some ground and pound in full guard, so can't really get anything going in the later rounds. Then in the third round, he eats a jab at range, and he pulls guillotine off the double, but he gives up his back, but he's able to grab me out. So you see that, you think Alves is gonna be dead in the third round, but he's got some life to him, gets out of there. Then he starts pressuring, lands some jabs, then a right hook, and then he's able to defend the double leg, and then he lands a spinning back head kick at the end. So, you know, he's got a little bit of life in the third round, I guess. Second round, though, just kind of got dominated, and then the first round didn't go his way. So, but take a look at the line. Rafael Alves, plus 145, Drew Dober, minus 170, and this is a tough one here, but I just don't feel comfortable betting Drew Dober at minus 170. I don't know why. His chin is not going to hold up forever. Rafael Alves is going to put a storm in the first round. And Drew Dober gets taken down in like a lot of his fights. Not that he can't get up, but I don't know. I just kind of have a feeling here, and I don't know. I just think Alves is going to be able to take it to him, maybe pull a submission or something. Now, probably Drew Dober is going to get out of it, but with that big price tag, I don't know if I want to do it. I'm going to go with Rafael Alves here. Rafael Alves by submission plus 350, not a bad play. My pick here, Rafael Alves. On to the main event of the prelims at 170 pounds, men's welterweight. I think we have a banger here. Both guys trying to get ranked. Both guys on some winning streaks. Both guys trying to prove legitimacy in the weight class. I think it'll be fun. You got Alex the Great White Moreno taking on Matt Semi the Jedi SEMELSBERGER. Alex Moreno took on Mickey Gall his last fight. In the first round, he stalks at range, lands a right cross, then he lands a step-in straight elbow, and then a combination, and he drops him with a jab whenever he gets pressed. Lands some nice ground and pound from there. Second round, he lands 1-2 at range, but then he gets rocked with some hooks in exchange. But he's able to get in the pocket, and then they both kind of wing hooks at each other, and then he tries to slip, looks for counters, and then he's able to stuff the double leg attempt, and then he throws the overhand right, and then he's able to land a left hook. In the third round, he lands an overhand right off of his jabs, and then he backs out, just kind of tries to circle range, and then he eats the overhand when he's coming in, but then he backs out, doesn't take too much damage, and then he presses forward, lands a 1-2, then he lands a jab and a back fist at range, and then he ducks, and he's able to return the hooks, and just kind of gets in there and scraps with them, but then he picks his shots, and then he circles out and looks for his counters. And then Matt SEMELSBERGER took on AJ Fletcher his last fight. In the first round, he lands a step in 1-2, but he gets doubled into half guard, but then he defends the mounted guillotine attempt. Really showed his toughness there. Then in the third round, he stalks forward, lands some jabs and some 1-2s from range. He lands a body kick, but he gets blast doubled, but he's able to get right back up from there. Then he eats an uppercut in the pocket, but then he lands a step in hook, but he gets his back taken, but he's able to slide out. And that's really good because once a guy gets their back taken, if they can fight out of it, I really like seeing that. And then he lands some elbows from full guard, and then he goes and he gets around his back whenever he tries to get up and just kind of sticks on him so it doesn't let him off the hook. And then in the third round, he lands a straight right and then some hooks on the cage, but he gets blast doubled after that. But then he lands back on the feet, he lands a right hook, and then he gets the blast double, and he stays busy in full guard. Doesn't do a ton of damage, but keeps moving, lands ground upon here and there, enough for the ref to not make them stand up. So I really like seeing that. You want to look at the betting line, Matt Semi, minus 155, Alex Moreno, plus 135. I've been going back and forth on this one also. I think Matt is a little more physical. I think he's going to press the action on Moreno. It seems like Moreno needs space to be able to land his shots, and it seems like if Matt rushes him, Alex might get like disoriented or something and just be off of his game. But I think it's going to be a tough fight the whole way through. I'm just kind of liking Matt. The money line's not too bad, so I don't got a problem betting him. My pick here is Matt SEMELSBERGER. All right, on to the first fight of the main card. I'm really looking forward to this fight. This is my most anticipated matchup. 205 pounds, men's light heavyweight. You got Anthony Lionheart-Smith taking on Magomed Ankalaev. This one's probably for a title shot, depending on how it goes. But, you know, Anthony Smith, a huge test for Magomed Ankalaev, and Magomed Ankalaev, a huge test for Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith wants that second title shot, and Magomed is trying to get up there. So let's see how it goes. Anthony Smith took on Ryan Spann his last fight. In the first round, he backs out of the jab range, lands a front kick, and he gets his back taken, but he hips out, and he's able to face him, and then he's able to land a hook. And then he drops him with a check left hook whenever Ryan rushes in. And then he threatens a guillotine, and then he has an armbar attempt, but he eats a knee, but he gets a 2-on-1 with the wrist, so spans kind of over his back, gets 2-on-1 with the wrist, and kind of stands up and faces him. Then he walks into a jab and he eats a 1-2 off of his leg kick, but then he lands a lead left hook on Ryan, and then he drops him with a right cross. He's able to take his back, get both hooks in, get the rear naked choke submission. So Anthony Smith, pretty decent on the ground, and he kind of even puts himself in this bad position sometimes, but he has the confidence and he has the skill to be able to stand up. So I really like seeing that, and just being able to get out of those bad positions. Magomed Ankalaev took on Thiago Santos his last fight. In the first round, he bounces at range, pressures towards the cage, lands a straight right off of Thiago's hook, and then he lands a left cross off of Thiago's overhand. And then in the second round, he's able to cut off the cage, and then he lands a head kick, but he gets rocked with the check left hook, and then he shoots a single, but then he gets dropped with the overhand left, kind of rushes in again, big mistake in my opinion. And then in the third round, he lands a left cross, and when they're in a pocket exchange, and then he lands a left hook off of his overhand in the pocket. And there's 2 more rounds of that fight, but this fight's only gonna be 3 rounds, so. Magomed Ankalaev -540, Anthony Smith +420. Now, Anthony Smith has said he's going to make this a dogfight, and I guess that's a decent approach. I don't know. It just seems like Magomed doesn't do a whole lot, in my simple opinion here. And I think Anthony Smith is okay in the grappling, like defending it, but he's not going to want to get there with Magomed. I really don't know how this fight's going to go. I think it's either Magomed's going to keep Anthony Smith at range, keep him off of him, maybe get a takedown whenever Smith rushes in, or Smith just kind of gets on the inside and just blasts him. Who knows, though? But this line is absolutely ridiculous, extremely disrespectful. I'm going to go with Anthony Smith here. I think there's some way he can get it done. I mean, Magomed Ankalaev got dropped by Santos, and he's not a perfect fighter. He's not super dominant. He just sticks to positions that he's good in and just kind of stays there and doesn't really take too many risks, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Anthony Smith. I think he can beat him up, make it a tough fight, disorient him. Let's go Lionheart. Second fight on the main card at 125 pounds, men's flyweight. You got Alexandre, the Cannibal Pantoja, taking on Alex Perez. Perez coming off a year-and-a-half layoff. Pantoja took on Brandon Royval his last fight. In the first round, he walks through a knee. He lands some straight rights, and he gets a double off the fence. But then he takes his back with 1 hook in, though. But then he's able to defend the knee bar attempts, and he stays around the back, and then gets some mat returns. And then he eats some jabs, and he gets his back taken, but he's able to sit out and just kind of clear out. And then he eats some jabs, but he's able to counter him with the 1-2 on the feet. Then he lands some step-in straight rights toward the end. And then in the second round, he presses with some straight shots through Brandon's jabs, and then he gets a double off of the fence, but it gets stuffed. Eventually, Royval gets a little bit better with the takedown defense here, and then he's able to get around the back off of the body kick. And then he lands a jab, and he takes the back, and he anticipates the roll, and he gets both hooks in, and then he gets the body triangle, and then a rear naked choke submission eventually. And Royval just like a ball of energy, and Pantoja was able to stop his momentum and just kind of anticipate where he was going to go and get that body triangle in. So very smart stuff from him. And then Perez took on Davison Figueiredo his last fight. In the first round, he rushes with some hooks on the inside, but he misses. And then he lands a body kick at range, but he eats some jabs, but he gets in on a single, but Figgy's able to roll for his ankle. And then Perez turns around the back, but Figgy anticipates that, and Perez sticks his head basically under his armpit, and then Figgy locks up that guillotine, and he gets submitted. So, tough one for him, but, Figgy's the most dangerous in the first round, and just kind of didn't anticipate that. And before that, he took on Jussier Formiga. In the first round, he presses forward, pumps jabs and some leg kicks. Then he lands a counter left hook inside the pocket, and then he lands a leg kick and then a check left hook. And then he lands a leg kick, but then he shells up and he eats a combination, but he's okay taking it. And then he lands a right cross and a combo, and then a step-in leg kick that drops him. And then they get into an exchange, then he lands another leg kick, and then just TKOs him with the leg kick. So very impressive. Not all that common, though. I don't see him doing that to Pantoja. Perez plus 165, and Pantoja is minus 195. Now, a lot of intangibles here. Perez had a long time off, about 6 canceled bouts in that time. I'm just going to go with Alexandre Pantoja here. The line's a little heavy, but, I mean, layoffs are like a big thing for me, and we have no clue about Perez. And then on top of that, the leg kicks, Pantoja's not going to fall for that. I think Pantoja might be able to get some takedowns or just kind of stay at range and not let Perez play his game there. But you want to go Pantoja by finish, plus 180, maybe. But if you want to go the whole fight under 2.5, plus 115, flyweights, fight goes under, not a bad deal. But my pick here is Alexandre Pantoja, the cannibal. The feature fight of the main card, 265 pounds, men's heavyweight. You got Derek the Black Beast Lewis taking on Sergey Pavlovich. Pavlovich is kind of new to the elite scene here. Derek Lewis took on Tai Tuivasa his last fight in Texas again. But in the first round, he moves back at range. He misses the overhand, then he gets clinched. But then he lands a leg kick and overhand right, gets to the clinch. But then he eats some elbows, but he gets the inside trip, gets the takedown. Derek Lewis got a takedown. And then he lands some heavy ground and pound on Tai in half guard. And I can't believe Tai took all the shots, but he did. Second round, landed a step in 1-2, and then an uppercut. And then another flurry, then he gets to the clinch. His inside trip gets stuffed, though, but then he lands some uppercuts, but he eats some elbows in the clinch. He eats overhand, and then an elbow from Tai, and just gets KO, just falls right to the floor face first. And it was pretty insane to watch that. But it kind of seemed like, to me, Derek thought he would get him out in the first round, and he didn't. And then any more damage, maybe, I'm not going to say he quit, but just wasn't confident, and you know, just kind of played with this out a little bit. And then Sergey Pavlovich took on Shamil Abdurakhimov his last fight. In the first round, he stalks at range. He moves in and out. He lands a right cross, comes in, and then he lands a hook flurry. But then he lands an uppercut and some hooks whenever he gets rushed. And then he drops him with the step-in uppercut and gets the TKO around the back. So I really like that killer instinct from him. Gets around the back, TKO finish. Sergey Pavlovich, minus 145. Derek Lewis, plus 125. Derek Lewis plus money, I feel like you got to take it. And, yeah, dude, I don't know. It's a heavyweight banger. I guess higher level heavyweights, but, you know, Derek Lewis, not really a well-rounded fighter. But, you know, Sergey, he's coming off a layoff after that, and he's new. Shamil, I don't think, is the best quality. So, I still have some questions around this fight, but I don't know, man. At least we see Derek Lewis get some takedowns, adding some wrinkles to his game. Maybe Derek wants to go for the clinch and tie him up. I really don't know how this fight's going to play out, but Derek Lewis, underdog money, go with that one. Derek Lewis by knockout, you could do that one, but not all his fights end in knockouts. People forget that, so I'm just going to go straight up. There's a little bit of dog money, and then you want to get the whole fight over 1.5 plus 125. I like that, but my pick here is Derek the Black Beast Lewis, baby. Let's break the Texas curse. Co-main event of the evening, 125 pounds, men's flyweight for the interim strap. You got Brandon, the assassin baby, Moreno, taking on Kai, Don't Blink, Kara France. I think that's his name. They fought in 2019. I don't really put too much stock into that, but it wasn't too long ago, so I'm just going to recap that one real quick. In the first round of that fight, Kai's in and out, lands 1-2s, and then Moreno lands some right crosses on the inside, and then Kai drops him with a double jab, then a right cross. And then in the second round, you can see Moreno kind of take over these next two rounds. Kai's in and out, and then he lands some jab and leg kicks, but he cuts him off and he presses with the 1-2. Sorry, Moreno starts moving now with jabs and leg kicks, and then he's able to cut him off and he presses with the 1-2. Then he's able to land a body hook and a head kick, and then he lands some step-in jabs. So Moreno just kind of taking it to Kai now, and Kai's forced to like kind of skirt on the outside in the second round. Then in the third round, Moreno starts landing some head kicks and he rips the body, and then he walks him down with the left hook and overhand right. Then Kai, he starts landing, but he misses the uppercut, and then he lands a left hook. But Moreno counters and just starts landing some hooks. So basically, Kai just was being a bully in the first round, and then second and third round, Moreno starts pressuring, and Kai just kind of forced me on the back foot. So, and then in Moreno's last fight, he took on Davison Figueiredo. That was 5 rounds, but I'm not gonna do all 5 rounds because Kai's last fight was only 3 rounds. So, but in that round, in the first round, there's a clinch battle against the fence. Moreno eats some leg jabs, and he misses with his lunge jabs, but then he gets dropped to leg kick, and then he gets his back taken off a step in 1-2. Figgy just kind of jumps on there, and then he eats a leg kick, but he rips to the body. And then in the second round, he stands at range, and he catches the kick, but he's unable to complete the takedown. But then he eats a body hook off when he steps in, he eats a body hook, and then he misses the 1-2, but he lands left hook, but he eats a right cross off of his jab. And then in the third round, he gets taken down off of a jump knee and gives up his back, but then he's able to get out relatively quickly. And then he gets rocked with a lead left hook while he's coming in forward. Then he lands a straight left, but he eats a left uppercut from FUGITT. But then he starts landing a jab in the pocket. Then he gets dropped with the leg kick, but he lands a left hook. And then they're both in a pocket exchange. And then Moreno lands a heavy left hook, but then he gets dropped with the overhand right over top of his jab while he's coming forward. And in my opinion, FUGITT stole that round. I thought Moreno was winning the third round until that. So, you know, Moreno just not the best IQ, I guess you would say. But and then France took on Askarov his last fight. In the first round, he circles out range, pumps the jab. And he's taken down with the single off a step-in hook, and then he gets put in the body triangle and then a backpack. Couldn't really do too much, but you know, he concedes the first round. But in the second round, he lands a 1-2, and then he gets taken down with the body lock. But he gives his back up against the fence, but he's able to turn. He isolates the arm, turns into him. Nice work. Then he presses with the overhand right and then a left hook, and then he's able to stop the single leg against the fence. Then he lands the overhand right and then uppercut, and then he lands some hooks in the pocket, and then he's able to stuff his takedown attempt. And then he lands some lead left hooks toward the end of the round. Then in the third round, he misses the hook, and he gives up his back standing. He gets put in a backpack, but he keeps turns him against his body, makes him square up, and then Askar is forced to get off, and then he circles and he cuts him off against the cage, starts landing some overhand right. So pretty tactical performance from Kai there. You know, Moreno's not as heavy as a wrestler as Askar is, but Moreno does have decent wrestling. Take a look at the line. Kai plus 185, Moreno minus 215. And, you know, to be honest, I'm kind of on the Kai hype train here. Knocked out Cody Garbrandt, which a lot of people saw coming, but still. And then beating Askarov, who's kind of like the boogeyman in the division. And then before that, when he took on Rogerio Bontorin had his back, was like close to submitting him, and then Kai gets a knockout all in the first round. I mean, and then Moreno just looked tentative in his last fight, and I think if Kai just keeps on the gas, I think he can beat Moreno. And I think if Moreno wastes his time trying to take him down, I think Kai's going to be able to defend. But who knows? But that plus money on Kai, I think that's where the value is. My pick here is Kai France. On to the main event of the card, 135 pounds, women's bantamweight. You got Juliana Pena taking on Amanda, the Lioness Nunes, for the rematch. Just going to recap the last fight because, you know, I think that's the only thing that matters here. So, the last fight in the first round, Pena gets dropped with a leg kick while she's throwing the 1-2, and Pena presses the 1-2 on the inside. And then Amanda drops her with a jab and then a front kick, and then Pena shoots a single, but then Amanda against the cage keeps that overhook, and she's able to get that hip toss throw and get her to the mat. And then she gets the right hook in, and then she's able to get in a half guard. But the whole time, Pena is working on that Kimura, and she has sort of a butterfly guard. She's trying to use that leg to elevate and just kind of stick on that Kimura. And then in the second round, Pena lands a jab, and then an overhand right. And then she lands some 1-2s on the inside, and then she lands a straight flurry. Then Amanda lands a counter right hook, and then they're in a firefight. And then Pena throws some 1-2s and a left hook, you know, landing. They're both just kind of going at it, though. And then Pena lands a right over top of Amanda's jab, and she presses some hooks to the clinch. And then she's able to get the back trip, get the rear naked choke, no hook, and that's that, dude. Basically, Pena, you know, she said she just wanted to stand toe-to-toe with her, and she thought that Amanda would fall first, and she did. And that's pretty much all there was to it. But you want to look at the betting line, Amanda Nunes, minus 265, Pena plus 225. I don't need to go into explanation here. Pena won the last fight, and she's a plus 225 underdog. You got to go with the underdog in this scenario. You know, I think, and there's that statistic that out of the champions with the immediate rematches, only 2 have ever gotten their title back. Plus 225, I mean, that's too big of a price tag to not put some money on. So my pick here, Juliana Pena. I think she can get it done. If not, whatever. But I think we're in for an entertaining fight regardless. All right, everyone. Thanks for riding with me. I appreciate it. Okay, last weekend. Didn't make as much profit as I wanted to. But my picks were okay. But this weekend, I think the lines are a lot better. They're a lot closer. A lot more manageable. And easier to make some profit on, in my opinion. Let's see some underdogs win. Let's see some violence. And let's see some profits. Good luck, everyone. If you could please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. If it's good or bad, regardless, let's get a conversation going. If you have something that will help me out, I'd appreciate it. I don't know everything, and I'm still winning in this thing too. So I'd appreciate that. And then on my social media, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff, hit me up, ask me questions. I'll be there. Thanks, guys.